First, now what I'm seeing more so than ever is people hire people they know, people hire people that they have seen or have a relationship with. So the process for the government is what you just said. You get a notification to send requests for information similar to a Sources Sought, saying, hey, government is interested in seeing who might be a potential vendor for this opportunity. Keep in mind, there are two reasons why companies do that, and I'm going to be fully transparent with you. Agencies can do it for one reason, is to see who else is out there competitively. So if they have a company that they're working with, they might want to switch things up a bit, but they don't want to switch things up with someone until you know, like, if I cancel this company, are there going to be other companies out there who can do the work? So that's the first thing. Two, if it's a new solicitation or new opportunity, they want to look at, if we put this new opportunity out, how do we want to put it out? Do we want it to go 8A? Do we want it to go service disabled veteran? Do we want it to go woman owned? How do we want it to go out? It takes 3 different companies who have been validated as capable in order to make a contract, a woman owned contract, the 8A contract. I'll talk a little bit about the 8A process in a few minutes. To make a contract woman owned, to make a contract service disabled veteran. Typically for women owned, you have to have 3 companies before they can make it be a woman owned set aside contract. Now in 8A, they have what we won our first contract, not first, but like I think it was like our 20th contract with Army, which is a huge contract. It was $4 million a year. The total contract was, I think, 16 million was our cap. We blew our cap in 2 years. So it was terrible because we got the contract and it took me a year to get 6 months to get the contract because we worked with our PCR rep to get the contract moved to the 8A program. Once the contract enters the 8A program, it can't come out of the 8A program. So because it was a contract that it was a large agent company, I can't remember the company, but the contract went from that company to 8A, and because we petitioned and we worked with our PCR rep to get that contract moved from General and Open, General Dynamics, that was the company who had it. We unseated General Dynamics. You're talking about a boost in my ego. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. But it was strategy. This is about strategy and thinking and outthinking. So the contract was being held by General Dynamics. I did a review of the contract. I did a review of the work. I was like, this is not good. I felt we could do it better. I presented a very comprehensive capabilities presentation to say, this is why we can do it better. I had already identified people who on our team who could do the work, people who we had already recruited to do the work, people who I had soft relationships with to do the work that we could bring in if we got the contract award. It was a big brouhaha because legally it could be done. Program-wise, they did not want to shift from a General Dynamics to a small business, let alone an 8A firm. But we had contract officers and the PCR, Pamela Nevels was the contract officer at the Army at that time. She's over at NIH. And it was our PCR rep. I cannot remember her name. She used to work for the SBA. This was years ago. She actually was the person who said, can you do the work? She was like, I'm going to fight for you, but you better be able to do the work. And me and my nature, I don't take on anything that I can't close and I can't finish and I can't deliver. I don't take on contracts that's 30, 40 million because I don't want that kind of work. I want the kind of work that we're doing now, innovation and creative and small business, entrepreneurship, healthcare, military. So I said, yes, we could do the work. We went before a board and we pitched it. They were a no. They did not want to go to 8A. They did not want to go. We fought for 2 months and then I got the call, the contract, you're gonna unseat them and we're gonna put it in the 8A program. Keep in mind that once it goes in the 8A, it can never come out of the 8A program again. At that time, we had 2 years left on our 8A contract. The contract was a 5-year contract. We did so much amazing work on Fort Detrick Military Base. the word went out and they started putting all these contracts in the 8A program for us to do, and we blew our ceiling. What that means is we used up all the 16, I think it was 16 or whatever $1 million it was in 2 years instead of 5. And we had already expired out of the 8A program. So we mentored another business into the program to get the contract. But I say all that to say, have a relationship. I met the SBA rep at a networking conference. They want to see your face. You are just paper on a computer or paper on their desk, but they have to make the personal connection with you. So network, go to these industry days. I know they can be a little dry, and people say the same thing. You don't think there's going to go anywhere, but focus on 1 or 2 people that you kind of have a simpatico relationship with and say, hey, I really like to get opportunity. Can I just get a virtual capabilities presentation and see what happens? Well, you know what happens with the contract that we are in now, that did not happen, but we had so much past performance that we were able to we wrote a stellar proposal, and that was really valuable and that was really helpful. And then normally the other thing I would say is do pre-marketing, find out whose contracts are expiring, take those contracts, work, in FPDS, you can export all of the contracts in your next code, see who owns them, see who is expiring, go after those contracts. Oftentimes it has the contract officer information there. Make sure you tighten up your capabilities presentation. Submit your proposal. Once it's submitted, if you win or don't win, ask for a debrief. Ask for a debrief if you win. Ask for a debrief if you don't win. One of the things that we did was I asked for a debrief when we won the SBA contract for Thrive. I was like, I want a debrief. I want to know why we won. And we won because of our innovation creative and our creativity and what we brought from the perspective of the digital tools and stuff to really make the program more interactive and to bring value to the small businesses. And in our process, we added in our contract opportunities to constantly iterate, constantly perfect, and make it as good every year. A lot of people don't do that. We are interested in being the best. And in being the best, we want to make sure that we get feedback to be better. How do we be better? So whether you win or lose, you want to know the feedback. Ask for that debrief and then start your post-marketing with people that you already know. If you have their email address and you have their name, and you have their phone number, put it in a spreadsheet, start capturing that data, email them, telling them what you're up to. We just closed a small contract for $100,000. This is what we're doing. I'd love to talk to you about future opportunities. Keep staying top of mind. But the RFIs and the sources sought, they serve 2 purposes. 1, to see if they're going to keep the company that they have. 2, if it's a new opportunity to see who's out there, how they should make the contract award. And then the third thing they do is who is capable of doing the work and putting you top of mind. So even when you're doing your request for information on your sources sought, I always recommend that you tailor your capabilities presentations to the scope of work. Don't just send out a general capabilities presentation. If it's 5 tasks, then you customize your capabilities presentation and who's going to be on that task, why the experience they bring to that task. Even sometimes we go really anal. How much money is going to cost that task on you? It's going to cost you to have us do that task. What is the experience of the team members on that task? You put that in your sources sought and your request for information, so it looks like you actually care and you're detailed. That's somebody wants to work with. And then the other thing you want to do is put together how you're going to manage the contract in your program. If you're going to manage the program, what software do you use? We use Smartsheets for tracking all of our projects, and it's tracked down to the labor hour, to the person who's doing it, the delivery date, and it rolls up to a master sheet. But put some of that information too, because project management is what I'm seeing is very important to the government. I'll finish with this last example. Lynn, who's on our team, he does the research with Ann on our team. And one of the things that he said, he was like, oh, Tawana, I think it's time, that you kind of get out and put on your heels and start networking. At first I was offended. I was like, what? Are you kidding me, Lynn? No, you just not did. I said, And it worked. And I said, okay, I'm going to try this. Because normally when we first started, I was out networking all the time. But you get older, you get kind of settled, you have your family and you're like, oh my God, I need to stay here. I need to go to run these practice, soccer practice. You have things you have to do. So you get a little complacent. And truth be told, Potomac Officers Club hosted a session 2 weeks ago. It was for Homeland Security. It was about U.S. security and with the border and with AI, artificial intelligence. That really is where we need to be focusing. And all of the what's happening. And let me tell you, it was scary and exciting at the same time, talking about retinal scanning. That's a lot more accurate than fingerprinting and DNA in some instances. Who knew? So it's so insightful. Well, there was a gentleman there who was a deputy administrator for TSA, and he shared one of their challenge areas. And so anytime when I'm listening to someone, especially if I'm at a conference and I'm listening to a speaker, I am listening for only one thing: opportunity, challenge areas, and problems for the agency or for the person. And then I mentally calculate how we are going to provide a response to that problem to help them be successful. And then I go up and I'm a happy person naturally. So I go up and I'm like, hi, my name is Tuan Isom. And then obviously they always think like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. She's not going to be as effective. Who's this nice lady coming up to me? And then I drop we've done this many in contracts, this many in millions of dollars. We have this many people on our team. We manage contracts for this. And like, oh, so you're nice and you're capable. Yeah. You don't have to be nasty to not be capable. So we present that, and what happened? We have a virtual presentation with the deputy administrator for TSA to manage the whole recruitment of the United States for TSA officers. Now, it's just a presentation, but I made an impact and was able to connect our services because they were using traditional HR recruitment tactics to get TSA officers, and they were not getting officers. What I positioned to them or pitched to him in 5 minutes is, hey, I think you should look at your challenge from a different perspective. I think you should look at it from a marketing perspective and a social media perspective. And this is what we can do. And I ran down everything that we could do. And he was like, oh, that's different. And I was like, we're different. And then from that, we got the capabilities presentation. And he said, I'm going to connect you to Bill, who's number 2 over at a whole nother agency. And our whole team is pitching them next week. So have I gotten the contract? No. Did I make an impression? Maybe. Do I have a connection for a capabilities presentation? Absolutely. Because he put a face with a name. That conference was $2,500. They're not cheap because when you're getting access to these people, you get the direct connections, and mostly because it was IT. And then I asked the question. Always stand up and ask the question and make yourself known, because in asking that question, people see you. So my question was, I know I'm not as smart as half of the IT people in this room, which, yeah, my team is. But, we have a different perspective on some of the challenge areas that you're having. And I like to present the human perspective of something that you may all think or see as a technical perspective. Everyone in the room looked at me like, oh, now everyone's in blue and black suits. I'm in this neon outfit because I'm a marketer, I'm creative. So, I talk with my hands, I'm passionate. So they were like, oh, okay. From there, I was able to get 2 other connections because I asked the question and just being nice and being pleasant and being engaging and open, I was able to make 2 subcontracting opportunity connections as well. So that's how you start building relationships with people. Go to these industry days. You don't have to pay $2,500. Industry days are free. Go meet people, engage, meet them for a coffee, offer a virtual presentation, and I think you'll see more traction.